Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. I'm your host, Jim McDannald, joined as always by my co-host, my trusty co-host, Tyson Franklin.
I like that. Trusty co-host. I'm good today, Big Jim. You can be Big Jim, Big Trusty Jim.
Yeah, no, things are good over here in Montreal. No complaints. Middle of summer, feeling good. It's getting a little hot, but it's much better than freezing like we do in the wintertime. So,
I look at your temperatures over there, and even when you get your summer, it's such a short period of time, and you just go. No wonder everyone just we see everyone in North America how much they celebrate summer, and they go out and they do certain things because you don't have a lot of time to enjoy it.
yeah, you got to make hay while the sun is shining, right? Because it's going to be gone before you know it.
Yeah, whereas in Australia, yeah, for a lot of parts of Australia, even like New South Wales, can get colder, and Victoria is cold, and Tasmania is cold. Queensland, New South Wales, even in winter, you have a nice winter day, and it's still 24 degrees, 25 during the day, which is like in your 70s
Yeah.
in Fahrenheit. So even though our summers are long, and our winters really aren't that bad.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to make it down there during North American winter and enjoy some sunshine and some beach maybe. Yeah, fingers crossed.
Okay, so we're going to get on to today's topic.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Today, I want to talk about self-reflective marketing. And the idea of it, this comes off the back of two previous episodes that we did. One was episode 70, where we were talking about developing micro pillars, and also episode 72, where we were talking about finding black caviar, which was a lot to do with like testing and measuring and figuring out just because something works today doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work tomorrow. So when you put those two things together, one of the biggest thing is when I talked about the marketing pillars, I said every time you're doing something, you should be noting down what you're doing and trying to record what was happening. It could be, doesn't really matter what the marketing pillar was that you're using, but take note of other things that are going around. The weather is important, especially like we just mentioned before. In summer, I'm sure what you do as an individual is completely different to what you do in the middle of winter where you live.
No, for sure. Yeah, I'm inside a lot more during the colder months and outside trying to enjoy the mountain and get out for some runs when the weather's nice.
Yeah, so where you are is probably very seasonal on the different activities you do, which would probably affect patients and their problems that they have and what they come with. And there's probably certain patients too that, yeah, when it's 10 feet of snow, probably do not want to leave the house and go and see anybody. They might be trapped, appointments get messed up and things like that. So I think the whole idea of self-reflective marketing is just whenever you're doing anything is just sit back and reflect on what you did. Is try and learn as much as you can with every single marketing activity you do, and also getting feedback from the people around you. So when patients are coming in, is look at the type of patients that are coming in, and if they saw some marketing you did, it could have been a Google ad that you did, or it might have been a blog article, or it might be something you posted on Facebook. Dig down into how they found you, and you can even ask them questions like, "What was it about that particular ad that you saw, or that marketing that did, that made you say now was the time to actually take action on it?" And they might go, "Oh no, I've seen it so many times. I just keep thinking, I've got to do something. I've got to do something. I've got to do something." And then yesterday I went to go for a run because the weather's better. And also, bang, I had the same problem I had last year. I went, stuff it, I'm not putting up with this anymore. So to me, noting all that down is something that you can reflect on later, next year, same time. What sort of responses you were getting from different people, different places.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there's a certain amount of awareness you need to have depending on where you're practicing, and asking additional questions, like you mentioned, is a great way to dig below the surface. If someone just says, "Oh, I found you on Google," yeah, digging a little bit deeper will help you realize, was it an ad? Was it a link in the organic section? I think it's also important is that sometimes if you're not curious enough or you're not really asking these questions, you're just never going to know. For example, when you can live in somewhere like in Canada or North America, people can get away with having their fungal toenails throughout the winter. It's not top of mind, but once
Yeah.
like sandal season comes along, there's a real opportunity here that if you're aware and you realize that people are going to want to start wearing sandals in a month or two, once the spring starts kicking off, there's an opportunity to make your local patients aware of that and tap into that, wanting to go to the beach or wanting to get outside aspect of kind of how activity and how your patients' lives are changing. But if you're just not curious and you're just going through the motions with your marketing or with the services you provide, you're going to miss those great opportunities.
Yeah, and when I was talking before about weather too, it's really paying attention because you might run a marketing campaign during summer, or leading up to summer, and people are going to be more in open shoes and they're concerned, especially women with having fungal nails and these ugly looking things sticking out there. They're nice. They're going to the races. They've got a dress on, nice shoes, and you got these big fungal things sitting at the end of their feet. You might be, say, spring into summer, looking at all that and going, 2 years ago, we did really well because we did this particular campaign. You go, but then the next year we changed the campaign, we did something else, didn't work as well. And you might be thinking, but did not work as well because it was a different campaign. It did not work as well because it was an exceptionally wet spring or summer. And therefore that changed everybody's activity. So when we spoke before about finding black caviar and testing and measuring what you're doing, it's not just testing and measuring the results from a particular campaign. It's reflecting on a lot of different other aspects. It's trying to take a lot more into account. Anytime you go and do anything, think about it. Did it work? What worked? What didn't work? And the big question is, if you were doing it again, and I've mentioned this on other recordings, what would you do differently? And this is the real self-reflective part, is if you were running that same campaign again with what you know right now, what would you do different? And noting that down and why. So when you go to do it again, you're reflecting back on what you've already reflected on.
Yeah, it helps you really adapt and adjust, right? I think that's a really important component, is that a lot of people see cookie cutter marketing ideas or things that have worked in the past. And I think sometimes they're expecting to get the exact same results as they had previously, right? But like you said, the environment can change, preferences can change. Maybe there's been improvements in certain types of technology. So being up to date and understanding that you're going to have to adjust and adapt somewhat. Maybe it is you try something a little bit different than last time, it doesn't work as well. So you go back to that old thing. But unless you're testing and trying to get a little bit better each time doing it, you're just going to you're going to think you're going to get what you're always going to get, but you may also get a lesser result or maybe a better result sometimes. But when you're taking into account those different variables, you can make better decisions about why things worked and then better decisions for the future.
Yeah. And it's not always copying what everybody else is doing. Say Instagram, for example. I've seen some things on Instagram that podiatrists do. They go, wow, that's really clever. And I can see why that works for them. But I can see some other podiatrists who try to copy exactly what they're doing. And I'm going, it just doesn't work for you. Please, you shouldn't be doing that. But they think just because they've seen 3 other podiatrists do it, therefore it must work for them. And they won't just do it once. They'll be doing it for 2 years. And you go, at no stage are they actually stopping and looking at, well, we had 45 comments from 45 podiatrists. But are you doing this marketing for podiatrists or are you doing the marketing for patients? So if it's only other podiatrists that are looking at what you're doing, are you wasting time there? Because you only have a certain amount of time to do certain things. So your time is really valuable. So it's good to reflect on, look at all the activities you're doing and what is giving you the best bang for your buck. And if spending half a day doing some videos and putting them on Instagram and waving your hands about is not really giving you the return, where else could you spend that time?
I think you break up a really important point there, is like understanding who the kind of, for lack of a better term, is like the end user. Like, who are you trying to connect with? Like, when you're being very deliberate about the marketing you do or the types of information you're getting out there into the community, who are you trying to really bring in with that type of stuff? And are you getting those folks? Or like you said, there's a lot of podiatrists who will make content for other podiatrists, and there's nothing wrong with that. But
Not at all.
But if you're trying to, I know a couple of guys that do it every so often.
So what I was just talking about before when I was waving my hands about in the air, I'm thinking, you're probably going to cut that out as a video snippet and go, here's Tyson waving his hands in the air. And if you put music to it, I'll be really dirty.
Yeah, we're gonna go viral. We're gonna get millions of views with Tyson's TikTok dance there. But no, I think it is something where it is good to. Are you connecting with that? Obviously, on this podcast, we're trying to connect with other podiatrists. But if we're not making it a consumer or like a podiatry podcast for the local area or something, making sure that you're, like you said, it's not just views and likes and stuff from anybody, but it's really connecting with that kind of target audience or that kind of local patient that you want to bring into your practice.
And this is the part about reflecting on what you're doing, is sometimes You would have heard the term, or you would have, yeah, about vanity numbers, where someone will create something and what they want to see is likes and shares and comments. And the more they get, it makes them feel good. It's like a dopamine hit. They post something, straight away they get 25 likes. It's a big dopamine hit, makes them feel good, and they want to just keep doing it. But you're better to do something and have 5 likes, but those 5 likes are from 5 people who potentially are going to use your services, than having 100 likes of people that are overseas that are never going to use your business or your services in any way. This happens a lot in podcasting. So, for example, some places that sell advertising on podcasts, they'll go, when your episodes hit 10,000 downloads per episode, we will then put you in touch with different suppliers or people that advertise. And I'm thinking, from an advertiser's point of view, you look at, say, Podiatry Legends, or you look at this podcast, we'll have a lot smaller number of downloads per episode. But the people that are listening to it are podiatrists. It's podiatrists that listen to Podiatry Legends. It's podiatrists that listen to Podiatry Marketing. You might get a few outside of that, but predominantly it's podiatrists. So if you're an advertiser, you're thinking, I wouldn't mind talking to a podiatrist. We know a couple of good podcasts that you could advertise on. And that's the self-reflecting part. That's just looking back at what you're doing and going, am I really talking to the right people at the right time, using the right medium? And am I getting the right results? It's deep.
No, obviously we work on this every day. So I think it's, I would say it's easier for us to understand, but we can reflect on these things we teach to other people. But sometimes when you're getting busy, you're seeing 30 to 40 patients a day, you're trying to take care of your staff, work with your staff, manage your staff, and you're doing some marketing on the side. That kind of self-reflective time is not always there. But I think taking that extra half an hour each week, or maybe you try to do it on a monthly basis to see, once you're gathering the information about the types of campaigns you're running or the takeaways, is it really leading to return on investment for your practice? It pays dividends because you're going to stop wasting money, you're going to stop wasting your time, and you're really going to be honing in on messages and mediums that really help propel your practice forward.
Yeah. And the one thing I always like people to understand when it comes to marketing is fun. I don't care what anybody says, marketing is fun, because there's nothing better than coming up with an idea, creating a plan around it, a strategy, putting it, letting it loose on the general public or whoever it is, and then you get a response from it. And that's the best thing about marketing, is when it works, is because you get a response. And there's nothing puts a bigger smile on your face than when you apply an idea and you get a return on that idea and you go, oh, that was fantastic. That was so good. And then you keep tweaking it and you're making it better. You reflect on it. How can I improve it? You make little tweaks. Sometimes not every tweak is good. Sometimes you tweak it, you go, ooh, bugger that up. Retweak it, go back to what worked, and you just keep repeating it. And if people don't have time for it, find out, is there anyone within your business that loves marketing? And maybe they can help you more. Or if not, you talk to Jim, you talk to myself. Hey, can you guys help me put together a marketing plan that will actually work? It's like I said, if you haven't got time to do it, that means you're making a lot of money. So to be honest, if you do not have time to do marketing in your business, there's only 2 reasons: you hate it, you don't like doing it, or you're that busy and you're making so much money, you haven't got time to do it. So if you need marketing done for you, is reach out to somebody and get them to help you.
No, that's a perfect example. I couldn't have put it better than that. It's just hugely important to get the message out there and to track down those kind of ideal patients. And by putting the messages out there, by marketing yourself, you're going to be seen in your local area as that expert. It can really pay dividends for your practice.
Yeah. And the other part with self-reflection too is you don't have to be marketing on every social media platform. You don't need to be marketing in every marketing pillar 100% all the time. You just need to pick certain things and just double down on them. Try different things, work out what's working, do more of what's working, and just double down on that and keep doing it. When I had the podiatry clinic in Cairns, there was one print ad that we used to use, and I used the same print ad for 20 years, pretty much. And the reason I used it is because it bloody worked and it brought patients in. Every time I ran it, it worked really well. We had maybe 2 or 3 radio ads that we would do every now and then. Every time we ran them, they worked. We had some videos that we played online, and we also played late at night on TV because it was really cheap. And I know that I live in a regional area. And I think if anybody lives in a regional area, marketing has changed. Would I advertise on TV now? Yeah, probably not. I'm not saying it wouldn't. In regional areas, I still think there's a certain way that you can use it that works well. With radio, there's still a certain way you can use it. Print, yeah, not sure about that, depending on the town that you're in. But the whole online thing with all the different platforms that are out there, you can't be good on them all. So just be really good on on one or two of them.
I think that's a huge comment there, and I think you're right on the ball when it comes to the self-reflective. Obviously, the numbers and those kind of things, but making sure you're staying true to the vision of kind of your ideal practice, and the fact that unless you want to be maybe a nationwide or an internationally renowned surgeon, most of the people that listen to this podcast are in a kind of a geographic location. So
Mm.
the more you can be seen online and be visible for the different areas that where your patients are coming from, if you're the most visible option and seen as the expert that does those different types of things that you want to do, then patients are going to come your way. If you're invisible, you're not putting your best foot forward, you're just hoping patients come your way. Best of luck to you. Maybe you have an amazing referral network, but you really have to be visible. And like I said, this kind of tying in the self-reflectiveness as far as like the numbers and the strategy you're trying and the different tactics you're trying with who you want to be and the road you want to walk down and grow as a practice and as a clinic, the more successful you'll be in the future.
No, I agree. And especially I've seen podiatry clinics that are say for sale, and some of them will say, we have an amazing referral network. And whenever I see that, I go, okay, just I hope you've got something else as well, not just a really good referral network, because maybe they're referring to the clinic because they know you. But if I buy your clinic and you're no longer there, is that their reason to leave you and go somewhere else? So I would never purchase a clinic that just said to me, we have an amazing referral network without them telling me, well, tell me the rest of your marketing plan. Let me know how else you're bringing patients in, because if that pillar falls over, that referral pillar falls over, I know the other 5 of them are doing well. And that's the part where you've always got to be reflecting on your own business thinking. I always think when you're setting a business up, from day dot of setting it up, your intention is to sell it. You may never sell it, but you should be setting up that if someone came along and wanted to buy it tomorrow, I can tell them exactly this is how the patients flow into my clinic.
Yeah, it's when you're a business owner, right? You build up the asset, and obviously we're in healthcare and medicine, so it's maybe not always people aren't always thinking about this, but obviously if you're in private practice already, you're thinking about how can you build value into your clinic, make it a valuable thing, and there's different ways of doing that. And obviously, like you talked about, like selling the practice in the future and building it up to be almost self-sustainable without you. Whether to bring on associates and other folks, how can you step away from the business as it still runs? So
Mm.
there's a lot of you better than I do when it comes to building a private practice, but there's a lot of kind of business acumen that's required to really make something successful.
So the final thing I just want to wrap up with people is just, it doesn't matter what marketing you're doing, everything that you do once, while it's actually happening, is reflect on what's happening. Is think about the results that you're getting. When that marketing campaign is finished, is reflect on as many areas as possible of all the things that may have potentially influenced it in a good way or a bad way. Like last example, I remember we had a podiatry clinic set up in a certain area, and about 3 months after setting up, we were doing this certain ad campaign. But then on the 4th month of doing it, all of a sudden, we just got all these patients coming and go, oh my God, I haven't done anything differently. But then I heard that this podiatrist had been in town for like 10, 15 years, closed. They were trying to sell the practice, couldn't, so they closed the doors and left. All of a sudden, all their patients are looking for a podiatrist, and they came in and saw us. Now, when I was asking them how'd they find out about it, now they'd seen our advertising before, but they didn't want to change. They weren't looking for a new podiatrist. But when that person left, because they'd seen stuff that we'd done, that's why they came and saw us. But I couldn't say that it was just because of that marketing campaign that all of a sudden had all these extra patients. There was a big external factor. A podiatry clinic closed down, which is always a good thing.
It's like you said, like sometimes these things are difficult to measure, right? So we're really talking about being self-reflective and measuring things, but there's some kind of occurrences that happen in your local area that can you calculate the ROI on that all the marketing that you did
Yeah.
that led to these people to come your way? Was there like an easy chart or an easy graph to see like why that happens? No, you have to piece some of these things together, right? Things that happen in the real world that happen in your clinic, and then what that means for the finances of your practice, right? So We think it is important to be self-reflective in those things, but realize that you're not going to be able to measure every single thing either.
No. But it's also the reason why no matter how busy your clinic is, you should always be seen and heard. You always just be putting yourself out there, even if you reduce the scope a little bit, but you just keep the practice up of making sure you're always marketing yourself. Because even though, like, if that podiatry clinic closed and I had never done any marketing prior to that, when all those people were looking for a podiatrist, they were going, scratching their head going, oh, where should we go? But because I'd been doing marketing and they had seen me there, seen the clinic there, they go, okay, we know there's another one now. When it closed straight away, we were top of mind and they just came flooding in, which was really good. And that's where sometimes you can't just belt your chest and go, oh, I'm a genius, look what I just did. There's so many other factors that are involved in having a good practice. There is timing, there is location, there's so many things involved. But I think my next talk that I'm going to do, because you're going to be talking next week on your topic, but I'm going to talk about taking big clinics on head on. Ooh, it's a good one.
It's going to be a spicy one.
There's reasons for doing it. So that's going to be next week's topic. Or not next week's, 2 weeks' time when I do my topic, taking big clinics head on.
There we go.
Like a Mack truck.
I'm looking forward to it.
So Jim, that's it for me this week. I look forward to talking again next week.
Sounds good, Tyson.
Okay, see you later.